Hello everybody, welcome back to Invisible UX. I hope you're doing well. Let's dive right into it. So today we're going to focus on comment responses. I've gotten a couple in the past few weeks, some pretty quick and some a little more detailed. So diving right in, comment from Outdoor Monsters. So she essentially looks like she's in architecture, wants to transition to UX. Great job. That's what I'm here for, to help you with that. She has a bachelor's in architecture from India, was planning on going for the master's in the US. Says it's a saturated field and quite different from Asian architecture. Speaking a little bit to, specific to architecture, yes, as an international student, it can be tough to transition from your international degree to a US degree. I am from the US, but I spent a good amount of time in London. I spent 4 years working in architecture and considered transferring my US credentials to the UK so I could get a UK license, and it was just an absolute nightmare. So it is quite a bit of work to try to do that. So she goes on to say, I hope you could answer a few questions for me. First question is, how long did it take you to finish the course? How many hours did you put in a week? So there's a couple options, right? There's the sort of standardized option of signing up for a 9-month period. What I wanted to, at a flat rate. What I wanted to do, there's a couple of options. One of them is to sign up for a 9-month period at a flat rate. What I wanted to do, since I had a lot of time to focus on this course, is instead of paying that flat rate, pay monthly and try to do it much faster. So my goal was to complete the course in 6 months, which is what I ended up doing. So the second part of that question, how much time did it take per week? I would say I really spent, honestly, at least 25 to 30 hours per week on the course to get it done in 6 months, because I treated it as my full-time job. I left my previous job at Apple. I wanted to focus completely on the boot camp and get it done as quickly as possible and transition as quickly as possible. So what I would do differently, though, if I were giving advice to someone that has a job and is looking to transition into UX, instead of leaving that job and focusing completely on the boot camp full time, I would suggest taking the UX boot camp part time. The reason I suggest that is, while focusing on the bootcamp full-time allows you to finish it faster, there's a lot of uncertainty as to how long it's going to take you to find a job, right? Even if you network while you're in the boot camp, even if you apply to roles while you're in the boot camp, you really don't know how long it's going to take, especially with recessions. The pandemic was a great example of that. Going into the holiday season, if you're in the States, November, December is kind of more or less a blackout period for hiring and interviews. So if you take the course part-time, you do have income coming in, right? If you have a full-time job, and you can balance that full-time job with your boot camp work. So it'll take longer. It may even take longer than 9 months. But I would say the trade-off is you have a job and you're not questioning when your next paycheck's going to come, when you're actually going to start work. My personal experience, and a lot of you have been following the channel, thank you, and let me just take a second. If you like it, please subscribe. It's how I know that what I'm putting out there is helpful. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments what kind of improvements you'd like to see me do. So, as I was saying, if you're familiar with the channel, you're familiar with my experience, but to reiterate, I took the course full-time. I ended in September 2020, which is mid-pandemic, and also started looking for work, right in, just before the holiday season started. So mid-pandemic, holiday season, lots and lots of applications, hundreds of applications over the course of several months, with some interviews, but no offers until April of 2021. So it was a good 6-7 months before I got some offers and started working. So it was fairly stressful, And in retrospect, completing the course faster didn't really provide me a great advantage because it's not like I transitioned into the field immediately. It still was some, good amount of time before I started working. So again, if you are a fan of stability and certainty, even though nothing's really certain with work, it might be better to hold on to that full-time job and just take the course part-time. So yeah, that's the first part of her questions. I hope that's helpful. Right, so she goes on to say, I work full-time, but I work only 3 to 4 days a week remotely. So I was wondering how time management was for you and if it would be a better option to pay up front or monthly. Okay, so in terms of time management, you really need to be self-disciplined when it comes to this course. There's no set times where you need to log in or actually go to a classroom. It's completely self-paced. So if you don't do the work, it's completely self-paced. If you don't do the work, no one's gonna come after you, right? So you really need to be disciplined, know how much work you want to have done every day in order to achieve your goal. So what I would do for time management is just figure out how long you want to, 2 ways. You can either figure out how long you want to take to complete the course and then figure out how many total hours there are of the course, then divide that by the amount of time that you want to achieve it in. So if you want to achieve the course, if you want to complete the course in 6 months, and there's say 600 hours of coursework, you're going to have to complete 100 hours a month or about 25 hours a week. Another way to approach that is if you can only contribute 10 hours a week to the course because you're working full time, and it's 600 hours of that course, it's going to take you 60 weeks. It's going to take you over a year. So there are trade-offs for each option, right? But what I would really stress once you figure out how much time you want to put in every week is stick to that. Track yourself. Put a little check mark on a calendar next to each day that you put in your 10 hours or your 4 hours or 2 hours or whatever. That's what I found to be really important. I'm a very self-disciplined person. And I was also doing this during the pandemic, so there weren't a lot of distractions. But yeah, just figure out a track, figure out a course, figure out a schedule, and then stick to it. Okay, she asked, would it be better to pay up front or monthly? That completely depends on how long you think it's going to take to finish the course. If you think it's going to take, less than 9 months, I would pay monthly because you're going to end up paying less than that sort of flat rate that plans on a 9-month completion. If you think you're going to take 9 months or maybe even more, because I think they have a little bit of lenience with the 9-month completion, I would do the flat rate. And it's been a couple years now since I've taken the course. Please, if things have changed, if policies have changed, drop it in the comments and let me know. She asked, did I take the UX UI course? I did. I took the UX UI career track. Yeah, okay, so then she asked, what would I recommend? I would recommend figuring out how much time you can spend on it and then choose the correct option based on that. Okay, finally she says there was a 50%, or she says, I said there's about a 50% overlap between what the course teaches and what I've been doing in real life. What was the overlap? So with architecture specifically, the design, the problem solving, design problem solving, design thinking is very similar in architecture and UX, right? As long as you have a good approach to problem solving, whether it's designing a building or designing an app or designing a website or designing a fork, then I think that's going to be a huge help if you're transitioning into this course. It's not essential. If you're not coming from a design field, you can still be very successful if you put your mind to it. But if you do come from a design field, it's going to be an advantage. Other things, when I was in the course, Sketch was utilized. Figma is taking over now. It's really the collaborative aspect of Figma that I think companies find appealing. but I would definitely try to learn Figma. If it's part of the course now, great. If not, try to do the same assignments that you're doing in Sketch in Figma, just to learn the commands. There's a lot of overlap. There's similar tools, they just have different layouts and different, some different features. What else? So, design thinking, Figma, soft skills, really. Soft skills are very important, and it's hard to teach those, right? So, collaboration, empathy, which is important for UX design, but just understanding what the motivation is of the other teams that you're going to be working with, the development team, the product team, the sales teams, if that applies. It's not just about UX. And while we're trained to think about the user experience, it's a huge advantage to also be able to think about the business perspectives and the business goals of a particular project. Okay, so thank you, Outdoor Monsters. That was a big comment, but hopefully those responses were helpful. So there was another comment about, I guess, the sound. So someone, let's see if I can bring that up real quick. Oh, there's another quick comment. Parastoo Agharezaei. I'm sorry if I got your name completely wrong, but they say, thanks for sharing this with us, super helpful. I'm happy that it was helpful. It's what I'm doing this for. Let's see, CJ says 14 interviews in 4 months and no job. Yeah, that's what it was like during the pandemic. Hopefully things have gotten a little better. Maybe not, given all of the hiring freezes in tech lately. But hey, as long as put your mind to it and don't give up. If you give up, you're not going to get it, right? So it might take a little bit of work, but you'll get there eventually. All right, Dima, Kulish, my favorite comment lately, it says, how can I donate to you to buy a new microphone? So I took your advice. I know the sound in some of my videos is a little bit low. I actually did get a microphone. We're using it today. So I hope it works. I want everybody to be able to understand me clearly. So hopefully that's an improvement. Okay, everybody, I hope that's helpful. It's good to talk to you. Good to hear from you as well. Drop any questions in the comments. Until next time, take care.